Hey, good afternoon, good morning, good evening, wherever you are. Welcome to Containers from the Couch. My name is Adam Keller. I'm a developer advocate on the containers team here at AWS. And as you can see below me, I have my good friend Justin, who you've seen many times on. Does it look like we're looking at each other?
Yeah, no, I actually was.
So Justin is another developer advocate on our team, and if you're not familiar with the show, we talk really all things containers, and you can always subscribe at containersfromthecouch.com for all of our content, and you can check all of the content that we've created over the past year and a half. But for today, we actually have a special guest, Ziwen, who is from the ECR team. And today we're going to talk about the ECR pull-through cache functionality that we released at reInvent. And not only are we going to talk about it, but if you're familiar with the show, we try to do a lot less of talking and more of doing. So we're going to have a demo. We're going to show you how to set up a pull-through cache, how it works, and walk through all the details. So before we jump in, Ziwen, why don't you say hello, introduce yourself, and then we can get started.
Yeah, hello everyone. My name is Ziwen. I'm a software engineer in Amazon ECR team.
Perfect. So we've talked about this feature quite a bit. So Justin, we had a couple shows. Was it last week? I already forget. I think reInvent was last week, right?
Everything past November just blurs together. But yeah, it was at least a week ago.
Yeah. So we had a couple shows where we talked about all the different feature launches from reInvent. And this came up a lot. This was a really popular feature request amongst customers. And maybe before we jump into a demo and talk through the functionality, Justin, what do you say you maybe, like we did last week, maybe you want to tell us, why does a pull-through cache matter? Why would I need a pull-through cache?
Yeah, actually, this morning I was trying to find a prop for it because I was trying to, again, I wanted to represent what this was doing. And I'm sure, Ziwen, we're going to get into the details and show off, how it works and everything. And I already saw some of your slides, and diagrams are great, but really the why behind it is typically you have a centralized repository of containers somewhere. You might host it yourself, or you might be, a third party. In this case, the pull-through cache works with third-party registries, and you want to pull some of the cache closer. You want the containers to be closer to where you actually run them, usually, obviously, in Amazon. And so in that case, you want that to exist in an ECR repository that is private to you, not only for how fast it can be pulled, but also because you can control some of the versioning behind it. And you can say, hey, if upstream deletes one of my tags, I need to keep a copy of that somehow. And a lot of times we did this through cron jobs and bash scripts. And it's that's how it all starts, right? You're I'm going to Docker pull this image. I'm going to Docker push it over here into my own repository. And you can do that on a cron. But it was more work for you. You had to, make sure that cron server was up, make sure that bash script worked, make sure your authentication, all that stuff. Those were all things that you had to manage. And in this case, pull through cache gets you those features with ECR, a private ECR repository that you can control. And it's just fully hosted. So you're just pulling it directly from ECR like you would any image. And the fact that it comes from an upstream repository is transparent for you, so that it's closer to your computes. You don't need to worry about upstream limits or bandwidth. All of that stuff is handled for you because it exists in an ECR repo that is with your infrastructure, with your containers, wherever you're running them.
Well said. Ziwen, is there anything you want to add from your perspective?
Yeah. Exactly. Today, many customers also manually copy the images from public registries to private ECR by themselves and manage the logic and info by themselves. But with pull-through cache, customers can benefit from the download performance, the security, and the availability of ECR for the container images sourced from public registries. And ECR can also manage the sync for the images for customers, so customers will never miss an update.
And doing it yourself makes a lot of sense when you have 5, maybe 10 containers, stuff like that. But if you're going into production with hundreds of containers or thousands of containers, and you need some of that for either local builds, if you're pulling from upstream Python and you're oh, actually I don't want to keep this sync or whatever. Like I need it. Like my builds will fail if I don't have this container. Syncing those locally is your responsibility to make sure that you don't go down if someone else has an outage. And so it is about it. Some of that is ownership on people doing it themselves. But again, at like a larger scale, at hundreds of containers, if anyone's run some cron jobs with Docker push and pulls 100 times, that doesn't work as well as one might like. So having this as a pull through cache is just part of ECR. Like you said, I mean, having hosted service, automatic, security and scanning and availability of ECR is a huge win.
Agreed. So, Ziwen, why don't you maybe walk us through? I know you had some diagrams. Should we walk through those so we can see how the functionality works and why it's so amazing?
Yeah, let's go to the diagram and I will show you how it works. Yeah. So today, before push to cache, what customers are doing today is that if they want to copy the images from public registries to private ECR, they need to manage one client to consistently pull the images from a public registry and then push it to private ECR to make sure the image is are up to date. But the logic is hard to maintain. With push-through cache, customers can only the one-time pre-config for the push-through cache rule for one upstream registry, and then they can just use the normal Docker pull to pull the images on demand from this upstream registry. So the way push-through cache works is for the first time pull, when ECR receives the pull request from the client, ECR will pull the image from the upstream registry from AWS IP, and then begin one job to asynchronously copy the image from upstream registry to customers' private ECR, and then return the image to customers. So even the first time pull will succeed. And for the subsequent pulls, after the images are cached in customer private ECR, then the image will be directly downloaded from customer private ECR without going to upstream registries, and then for every pull, ECR will check if the image is stale for 24 hours. If it is stale for 24 hours, ECR will also start one job to asynchronously update the image, so to make sure that the image tag is up to date. Yeah.
So
does it do that synchronization only when I'm pulling, or does it automatically, based on rules, always check that and pull in the latest?
Yeah, it only does the asynchronously image sync when you pull. Yeah, when you send pull request.
Got it. So just to clarify, so when I a Docker pull, it's going to check upstream, right? If that image is different than what I have cached, it's going to pull that latest image, right?
Yeah.
Into my cache.
Yeah.
So what happens though in a 24-hour period if I don't do a pull? Are you saying it also will try to check for any updates to the image as well, or only on pull is when it checks?
Yeah, it's only on pull.
Got it. Cool.
Can that? I saw Carlos has some great questions too. I want to get to those as well, but now I'm like still going back in my head. Can I also, if I have a ECR registry that is a cache, can I use the replication rules to then push that to other regions as well? Or do I need to do replication in each region?
Yeah, you can do that. Yeah. So the push-to-cache repo, so all the features of the normal ECR repo are supported by the push-to-cache repo. So also for replication, you can also apply that rule. Yeah.
Oh, that's cool. So if I have 4 regions, I don't need to set up the same mirroring in every region. I just set up, one pull wherever, if I have like a main region that I pull it often, and then I can replicate from there. So as I pull it in, US East, I can also say, oh yeah, and then whenever this gets updated, replicate it over to US West.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Cool.
That's really cool. So, I mean, all these, it integrates nicely with ECR, all the features with ECR, image scanning, replication rules, all of these things still work. You're just basically caching in one location, and then you can do whatever you need, if you want to replicate and so on. Very cool.
And I'm even thinking back to Adam, you and Brent had a show last year. I think it was 2 shows showing off a pull through cache with Harbor, and the amount of work that went into, like, if you want to do this yourself, you can. But even like, I was like, wow, those 2 episodes just like don't even matter in this case, because it's like, oh yeah, you could just set the setting and then you get it for free. You don't need to set up your own registry and all those other rules.
Yeah, and we haven't really talked about that just now, like today, enough. I don't think. Like, there's a lot of effort to set up your own repository cache. Regardless of what it is that you're trying to cache, there's work involved to do that and to maintain it and to keep it up to date. So this really just, once again, you're pushing that work off to the ECR team, to AWS, and you just say, I just want to cache this image. And for me, one of the biggest benefits is just, if somehow upstream is having issues, I know I have that image cached in my private repository where we're safe, so we can continue business as usual. So there are a lot of questions here. So let's see, how do we want to approach this? Let's start with, okay, I'm going to go from the bottom up here. So is there any automated cleanup task for ECR to remove, truncate old, stale, unused images that have been pulled from a public registry? So Ziwen, would this be something like lifecycle rules, or how would you approach that?
Yeah, ECR has a feature called lifecycle policy, so you can use that in your Postgres repo to do any task you want. Yeah.
Very good, very good. Okay, and then we have someone saying hello from Toronto. Hello. It's raining here in Southern California, and to us that's like freezing cold. So, I'm sure if you were here from Toronto, you'd be, you're wearing a t-shirt, it's no problem. But for us, it's like, we can't handle it. So Carlos did have some good questions. Let's see here. So question is, how does it handle signatures? So I don't know if we need to elaborate a little more on the question, but does that question make sense to you, Z1? Meaning keep existing images.
I think that's essentially let's say inside of Quay, or Key, however you want to say it, inside of the upstream repository, I have a container image that's signed. When I pull that through, does the signature come through? And then he also had a question there about adding signatures, I believe. I'm trying to scan through. But I believe how do I verify that image is still correct from what came in the upstream repository with signatures?
So does that, we can always touch on this later if we don't know at the moment. We could I guess we could circle back to that one. So, okay. So Waleed had a good question here. So let's bring this up and then let's get into the demo. So would Amazon ECR public, I'm trying to read this question. So would, does this make sense to you? I think I popped this up and I'm not sure I really understand the question, but
so I think it's 2 parts. One is ECR public has the Docker official images as a repository, which was also another announcement from reInvent, where all of the official Docker hub, if you look, Docker pull Python, Docker pull Nginx, whatever, all of those images are now also officially pushed to ECR. So you don't have to do some of that mirroring yourself if you want them in ECR public. This specifically, the pull through cache is caching from either ECR public or Quay to pull images into a private ECR repository. So if you want to use the public ECR gallery and say, hey, here's some official Docker images, that gallery is, again, it's within Amazon resources. So if you're pulling from that into an EKS or ECS cluster, you're already getting a lot of the benefits of doing some of this pull through cache. Of it exists within Amazon's infrastructure. You don't have limits on those pulls, so there's no throttling on authentication. You have to be authenticated to get to run infrastructure in AWS anyway. So some of that is already just like transparently handled for you because you're pulling inside of an Amazon region. So some of the like benefits of, I need to do this from an external registry, if you're using ECR public, may not apply, but there is still value in owning some of those tags in a private repository if you want to keep those tags or set up your own replication rules or synchronization rules on the ECR private repository. So there is a little bit of benefit, but again, if you're using ECR public, some of the throttling and benefits on speed don't really apply in that case. And to the point, we have the official Docker images in ECR public. If you're trying to pull those, you can just replace add a little bit to the beginning of the string of that image, and you'll get the same image that gets pushed to Docker Hub into ECR. And,
we should just mention that the upstream repositories or registries that are supported right now is ECR public and Quay or Key, however you want to call it. So those are the two supported right now. So what do you say, Zuen? Let's just dive into the demo. Let's show how this works. Yeah.
Yeah, let's go to the demo. Yeah, so when customers want to try the push-to-cache feature, the experience is very simple. So they only need to do two steps to try this. The first one is they need to configure one new entity called the push-to-cache rule. So I just try to create one push-to-cache rule now. In one push-to-cache rule, we have two attributes. One is the source registry URL. The other is the ECR repository namespace. So the two attributes is like a mapping. So for the source registry URL, I just choose ECR public here, and it is auto-filled after I choosing that. And for namespace, this attribute can be customized. I can choose anyone here. For example, I can see container from the coach demo. So I create this. After I click save, then one mapping is built between the CFTC demo and the ECR public registry URL. So that means all the repositories prefixed with this namespace will be the push-to-cache repo of the ECR public. So I just click this then, and now I have one push-to-cache. And now I have one push-to-cache rule for ECR public, which yeah.
And we set this at the registry level, right? Like we don't set it on a per image basis. You set this as like a global configuration, basically, right?
Yeah, this is registry level, and one push-to-cache rule can map one upstream registry. Yeah. Yeah. So after setting up this, customers can directly pull the images from ECR public on demand only if the repository name is prefixed with this pre-configured namespace. So when I go back to the my repositories, we can see there's no repository here. But if I want to pull the image from ECR public with this push-to-cache rule, I don't need to create the repository by myself, because we have a feature. Because in push-to-cache feature we support a created repository on pull. So the repository will be created by ECR if I pull the image with the pre-configured push-to-cache rule. So let me show you this. How can we pull that with the push-to-cache rule? So first, I need to log into my Docker. I use USD1, so I log in succeeded. And then I try to find one image in our public to pull. So here I just use Amazon Linux as the example.
And by the way, that CloudWatch image, did you see how many pulls that thing has? That one actually, like, I remember when this happened, 2 billion pulls, 2 billion pulls on a container image. I was like,
Wow.
that is a lot. That is a B in a lot. And I remember when ECR Gallery came out, and I believe CloudWatch Agent was the first one that got 1 billion pulls, and there actually was a code change to allow things to show billions, because it was like, ECR is doing billions of pulls every week. But like for a single image to get that many pulls, it's just like, that's amazing. And I love seeing that. It's like, because they actually got stuck on a million, on like 999 million for the longest time. And I was like, no, we need to hit 1 billion. Come on.
That's like the Y2K bug right there,
Right. And yeah, now we can go, that code change, went up, I'm sure, into the trillions, but that image right there specifically goes crazy.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Yeah, so
and I didn't mean to interrupt, because I love this, like the idea that every image I want to pull and put in my cache, I don't need to like go in and say like, oh, I need the Python, I need Node, I need Nginx, I need like Amazon Linux. You don't need to do that for every single one. You set up one repository or one cache registry, and then on demand they all just come, right? Whatever you set it as, like, yeah, pull that one, and it automatically gets cached.
Yeah. So if I want to pull the image from ECR public with the push cache rule, for example, for Amazon Linux and image tag, for example, I just put the latest one. So the command will be like this. So the pull command, the first part, is just as normal. It's your private ECR URL, and the second one is your push through cache. It's the ECR namespace of your push cache rule. So this one, so when you set this one here, that means you are trying to pull the image from ECR public, because there's a mapping here. And the third one is just the repository name in ECR public. You can see that in the latest URL is also Amazon Linux, and then Amazon Linux, and then latest. So this one is also the tag in the upstream. So when you put this, let me run this. Oh,
I think we had a different name for our namespace.
Yeah,
right?
I think it was CFTC.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I forgot to choose this name.
I was gonna jump in and say like, no, I think it's gonna fail.
So CFTC, is it that? CFTC demo, yeah.
There you go. And something a lot of people don't know about, if you've only ever used maybe Docker Hub, some people don't know that you can have multiple slashes in that path for your images. Other registries do have that already. ECR, obviously. I remember the first time I saw it was, I think it was GitLab, because they like set up how they have organizations, and then, org, repo, container, or something like that. So I was like, wait, you can have multiple levels of this? Like, this is amazing. And then when ECR had it too, I was like, oh yeah, it just makes sense. There's more to that path. And so in this case, you give the full path of something that, is from that registry, because the settings on the repository already say what URL it should be pulling from. And so the ECR fetch client essentially is just looking for that URL with whatever you penned on the end. And in this case, it's doing a pull. Uh-oh, did we lose him?
That's okay. Let's talk about it.
All right. I think, from my understanding, in this case, we do a pull of that image. It's going to actually, ECR is going to fetch the image first. So I have to wait for ECR to get the image fully in its repository before it starts sending me anything. Because we want to avoid things like sending corrupt bits. In Carlos, I think that was where like some sort of certification checking would actually happen for the client to say like, hey, let me make sure this is real first, because who knows, like if something happened to the image. So we want to pull it into ECR fully first, and then we're going to actually send it to the client. So there is a little bit of an initial delay, but what was said earlier with the updates, those are done asynchronously. So when I say, hey, give me that image, behind this, we're going to send it to you immediately, but also behind the scenes, ECR is going to say like, oh, let me see if that's the latest. And if it is or isn't, I'm going to pull it down.
Yep.
Is there something like this in open source? Yes. The original OG Docker registry you could run yourself could do this. There was a setting on it to set it as a registry. Harbor can do it. Artifactory can do it in non-open source world if you want something hosted. There are things that if you want to run it yourself, can do these things as well. I remember my very first Docker registry, I had two. I had one that was a cache that cached to NFS, and the one that was the main one, and it pulled through from the cache on every client's, which was amazing to avoid downtimes back in the early days when some things weren't stable.
Yeah, more here too. Nexus proxy, that's another one.
That's
mentioned
right.
by Waleed. Harbor Cache. Yep, absolutely. And I think these are all open source projects that are, used in the wild, in production environments. Folks use these. So, well, we lost Zuen, but I feel like, I could, let's see, I have my account open here.
You already have, I was gonna say, yeah, we could just jump in and show off a couple other features.
Yeah.
I don't know what happened to him.
I'm going to share my screen. We're doing it live. This is how it goes, right? So
We'll get you a demo no matter what.
I'm going to share this. Yeah, he's okay. He's okay. I think he just internet issues or something. You know how these things go, right? They never work out perfectly. Okay, so I'm going to do this, and we see each other here. Okay, do we see my screen? We looking good here, Justin?
I don't see your screen yet.
Okay.
Yeah, pull it in.
What screen is it looking at? I got to pull it in because that's right.
Woo, there we are.
Okay, so I actually have this. I was playing with this earlier. So going along the same line of what Zuen was doing. So he did that initial pull, right? So now he pulled that locally. So if you were to go to your ECR repository in your account in your region, and you can see I have a bunch of images here. First thing to notice is that the global view of all of my images within my repository, you can see there's this pull through cache column here. So you could see if you have an image that is being used as the pull through cache, it'll say active. So you can see I have this one image. I called my namespace for this ECR public, and then I just pulled the Amazon Linux image myself. So if you drill down, you can see this is my cached image, and going along the lines of what we were talking about earlier, where you get that same functionality that you would if this was just an image you built and pushed up to your local ECR repository. See, I'm getting Chime called. Chime does not respect do not disturb mode on the Mac, so that's a little frustrating. So like image scanning. So I pulled this image down. It's my cached image, but I can still all the functionality that exists within a ECR for my images is here. So as you can see, I guess I have an unsupported image. So okay.
And since you already set up that namespace, I mean, just show go pull the Python image from ECR public, right? And you might want to blow up your screen a little bit.
Oh yeah, cool.
So if you just pull the Python image from that ECR public, it'll automatically just show up as one of your repositories, right?
Yep. And actually, so
do you always use the terminal in VS Code now?
I do. I do everything in VS Code now. I've decided to go all in, and I'm all in. So by the way, this is that image though, from upstream. So when I pull it, if there was any change, it's that same process though. I'm pulling this image from the cache. Now, so what you were saying, Justin, was let's find that image. Let's see if we can go to ECR public. And we mentioned earlier the announcement for Docker official images being stored in ECR public now. So this was a big one for me because there's images that have been in Docker for forever. There's been just so much time spent on them. So being able to have those images available in ECR public is super awesome. So again, you take advantage of the benefits if you're running in an AWS account, the cost benefits of not having to pay for polls and all that. So, and Justin, again, I just so you know, I can't see the stream. So if anyone's saying anything, just fill me in.
I forgot to mute myself. Yeah, you probably heard me typing. Kevin asked if there is plans to support authenticated pull-through caching, and yes, there is. I linked it in the YouTube comments. I'm gonna send it over here to Twitch as well. So if you want to follow along, there is an issue to track that already. If you have an upstream, if you have Quay authenticated, you could use that as well to pull that in as soon as that feature is available.
Yep, perfect. Thank you. And again, I do apologize if there's a bunch of hammering in the background. So you can see here, these are the Docker official images, and it's just under the library namespace and then the image you want. So if you've ever seen me, on the show, I love Python, so I'm going to pull the Python image. And so what we'll do now, I'm going to go back here. And
hold on, we needed to see what your top playlist for 2021 was from Spotify.
It's actually funny. That's a funny one, Justin. So, my kids listen to my Spotify on my Spotify account. So like the first one is like, I don't know, gangster rap. And then number 2 is like, is K-pop. My little one loves K-pop. So like, it's just, it's a very eclectic mix.
Yeah, BTS, man. Dynamite.
BTS is a big deal, Justin. You know this.
Parrot life hack, YouTube Red, for no ads in YouTube, and just use that for the music for the kids. And like that is like the anything they want to listen to in music, and then Spotify for the adults.
So yeah, BTS, Taylor Swift, Olivia Rodrigo. That's all in my mix. So okay, and then so
real quick, following out in the comments too, YouTube comments. It looks like a couple people from the ECR team are also answering questions there. So if I'm getting something wrong, please correct me. But yeah, if you have any other questions, feel free, send them in chat because we have some answers going there.
And by the way, so you do have to, I believe we actually have to create another cache rule for the new image here. So I believe it's, and the ECR team is here. They can also check me on this one, but I believe it's, so one cache rule matches to the one image that you pull down. Correct me if I'm wrong on that.
I thought it was a cache rule per registry.
ECR team, will you please let us know? Because they're here. So yeah. And anyways, we're doing this live. I did. So
okay.
So you see, I got. I missed Docker. I forgot to put Docker in front of there.
They said you can reuse the rule. So in the same registry upstream, yeah.
There you go. So now I'm pulling that image from the cache. So again, see, I'm using that. So my namespace for my cached images is ECR public. So I have ECR public, and then the upstream registry's namespace, which is Docker/library/Python. So if we were to go now.
If I remember correctly, like it's been a while since I've used another service that did this. I remember back in the days, like Artifactory had this as an option, which I think was almost identical to this, where we set 1-to-1 upstream registry with our pull through cache, and then on-demand images within that registry. So it works pretty transparently. If you're just like, I just want this from that registry, you can have your own, domain for your registry / whatever upstream you want to pull from, and then you just pull in any other images and get them cached so that you don't ever have to worry about a tag going away or images being pulled down. Definitely had issues of like, oh, builds broke because something's gone from the internet again. It's like actually caching your own stuff is kind of important.
Absolutely. So there you go. I was able to I now have that image cached under ECR public. So my cache namespace and then Docker library Python. So that it's in my repository and we are good to go. So again, apologies for the misunderstanding there. I came into this thinking it was one cache rule for many images. I misunderstood Z1. So
even better than that, because you said it once and anyone can pull. You say, here you go. If you want it from ECR public, if you want it from Quay, here's the registry. You just add whatever on the end.
Exactly. You basically set it and forget it. So
it looks like Zuen's back. Is he back in?
Okay, so I'm gonna go back. I'm gonna stop sharing my screen before everyone gets really nauseous here, and then we're gonna add Zuen back in.
Woo-hoo! He made it back.
Hello,
hey Zuen, you made it. Hey, okay, so we got you back. Do you want to jump in and continue on with your demo?
Yeah, I can continue my demo here.
Cool. I tried to fill in some blanks, do my own ad hoc demo. It was it was maybe a 5 out of 10.
Yeah.
So here we go. Let's we got your screen back in. So
yeah, so I'm running the pool I just tapped, and we can see that the pool succeeded. I got the Amazon Linux back, right? Yeah. And then when I check my console, I can find that the new repo is created for me by ECR. And then when I go to the repo, we can find the latest image is copied to my repo. So when I pull the image, from this repo next time, the image will come from private ECR. Yeah. Yeah. So that's it. So this is the part of the push through. And there's another thing I want to show you is that is the registry policy we introduced for the push through catch feature. So let's go to here, permissions, and we can go to this one. Yeah. So from this, we can add the new registry policy for push to cache. The reason of having the registry policy is that we know that pull is generally a read behavior. So if we just create the repo and then copy the image to customers ECR without any new permissions, that means the read API will do the right behavior. So it is not really desired. So what we did was we introduced the two actions for customers to control the permissions related to push to cache. So for example, I created a new empty user before I click this, and then okay, statement, and then here here from this console I choose the setTC demo namespace I created before just now, and the report name I choose star the wildcard, and when I choose I save statement, I can see that I created a registry policy like this. So this policy has two actions. This action batch import upstream image is the new action we introduced for the push to cache. If the customers, if the user or role customers are using don't have this action, then they can't use the push to cache feature. So yeah, which means that this action controls the permission to return the image which is in upstream but not in their private ECR, and also gives the permission to write to copy to the image to their private ECR repo.
So in this case, I can control at the IAM level who has access to pull which images, essentially, right? Because looking at the CFTC demo /star, I could actually go one level deeper there and say CFTC/demo/ Docker library, right? Because that's where the official Docker library. So you can't pull all of ECR public, but you can pull the Docker library images based on this IAM permissions.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. So customers can control the permissions by themselves. They can directly add the action in their user or role, or they can use the registry policy to control that for multiple users easily. And and why do we need the create repository action here? We know that it is an existing action. So this one. So the reason of adding the create repository here is that we want to let customers control the permission of create repository on pool. So that means if the user or role of customers don't have this permission, this action, they can do the push through flow for the existing repositories. But if the repository does not exist, the flow will fail. Only when they have both of them, they can do the create report share pool. Yeah, so this is the new registry permission we introduced.
Nice.
Yeah.
Very cool. So,
Zubin, I don't know if we touched on it. Am I muted? No, okay, good. Sorry, Adam. I don't know if we touched on it yet. The pull-through cache, can I also use scanning with that? Can I say, hey, whenever I pull this image in, also scan it for vulnerabilities?
Yeah, you can use that. Yeah. So if you want to use scanning for the push cache repo, you can create a one repo by yourself and then set up the scanning configuration. And when you run the push through to the created repo, then the scan will be enabled. Yeah.
Does that also work? We have a new type of scanning for images, right? So there's the one that's like scan on push, and there's the one that continue. Or that's with what's it called?
Inspector.
Inspector. I was gonna say Insight, but no, that's not it. So yeah, Inspector. Okay. So yeah, Inspector is a different service that can also scan images, but the scanning embedded or available natively in ECR does it based on pushes. So that makes sense. So if you have a need for continual scanning of images, Inspector got announced that it now supports ECR images, but in this case with new caching and pulling new images. So if I, just like we were showing, we pull the new Python image, which wasn't a cached image at first. The first time I pull it, that scan will kick in if I have the rules configured to say like, oh yeah, on this registry we scan the images on push or on pull, whatever the case may be. Whenever the image gets in ECR, that's when we scan it.
Yeah, and we should do a show on the Inspector image scanning because it's actually much more in depth and thorough. My understanding than just the ECR image scanning, which is based off of Claire. In the Inspector image scanning is, as you said, it's more continuous, and it scans your package, your language specific libraries, so like Python and Node. So there's much more to it. So
yeah, Adam, we have a lot of shows to do.
And we will. We're going to have a busy year ahead after this year. So, Zuen, that was super cool. Thank you for walking through the demo, and I hope everyone was able to survive my awful, ad hoc quick demo. Is there anything else you wanted to show us, or is that pretty much it for this time? Don't hang up on us again, Zuen. I don't know. Oh, you're there. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. So one thing we are on call is about the cost. So for the push cache feature cost, the push cache repo actually use the same storage as the normal repo. So there's no additional cost for that. Which means there's no premium to use this feature. Yeah. So you just pay the same cost as the normal feature. Yeah.
Oh, nice. So no cost for the image caching. Just with that
ECR costs.
You just pay for your images, right? Storing your images.
Yeah, additional functionality with no additional costs. That's a win.
That's a way better way of wording it than I just did. Nice job, Justin. Cool. So I think if that's it, then we can wrap up the show. Zuen, thank you so much for spending the time with us today, walking through the functionality. For folks that are here, if you have any questions, any follow-up, there's a couple places where you can reach out. One is the containers roadmap, which is public, which I'm going to find here and pop up. Justin had shared it earlier. So this is for one specific issue, but just head to the roadmap with that link and you'll be able to, if there's a feature you're looking for, you can, +1 it, add your use case, or if it's not there and it's something you really want to see, you can submit an issue with what you're looking for. And by the way, this spans, our container services. So it's not just limited to ECR, ECS, EKS. It's for all the container services. And you can always reach out to us on Twitter as well. So there's Justin, myself. You can reach us at our Twitter handles, which I'm sure you know as well. So
and thanks
Justin,
for everyone that asked
show.
questions. There's a ton of interest on this. Thanks for the ECR team for coming too, because helpful for Adam and I filling in some of those gaps on actually using it. Announced a week ago. Sadly, Adam and I have not had the time to play with every single feature that got announced as much as we want to. But helping anyone else here, like hopefully some of our dumb questions helped anyone else understand it a little bit better. And Zuin, thanks so much for the demo, because that helped a lot just to understand, like, okay, which pieces applied to it, why is a pull through cache different, and how is it the same? And some of those replication rules, the new IAM policies, that actually is a big win for large environments. I have a lot of users. I don't necessarily want them caching every image from a repository. So being able to set some of those restrictions is really important for just the internal security of what's being run.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
All right. And then Justin, what do we have coming up next? We have a show coming up soon on Carpenter. When is that?
I think it's Tuesday.
Next
It's Tuesday or Thursday, but now the day's blurred. And so I'm pretty sure it's next Tuesday. It's already scheduled in YouTube, but you can find it on YouTube if you want to subscribe. Have a lot of stuff that I'm planning on showing off use cases for Carpenter, which was the EKS or Kubernetes generic, actually, cluster autoscaler that does things differently that we hope you'll find in a lot of good use cases for. So I'm trying to bring in some of those, different use cases of like when something was hard with cluster autoscaler and how Carpenter is solving some of those problems, because we have a lot of customers and users that are like, we want this to be easier. And Carpenter is an open source solution that we've been building for a while. Carpenter's been on the show a couple times, but now that it's GA, there's some extra features that I really want to dive into.
Perfect. Okay. So that is it for today. Thanks everyone for joining us. Shameless plug. If you do want to see us and you want to know when we're going to be on live, subscribe to Containers from the Couch. Just go to containersfromthecouch.com. Sorry, had to do it just for the 10th time.
You have to like and subscribe, Adam. You have to get the like too.
Like and subscribe. Smash that
bell,
like button.
Whatever that means.
Smash the subscribe button. Smash them all. Thank you everyone so much. All right. We'll see y'all soon.